10-year period and longer. Okay. So it means a lot.
Right.
And we've got John joining us as well. Okay, I think that's everything on there.
A bouquet of miniature tulips growing out of my shoulder here. Mama told me to scrub my shoulders better, but now those bulbs have taken root. They say it in Oregon, where I'm from. Gonna go down to the creek. Apparently, there's an Oregon accent. It's very mild, though. Fantastic.
There's an Oregon what, sorry?
Accent.
Oh.
Yeah, I do lunch. I'm doing an experimental diet of steak and chocolate.
I think that's a winning combination. Me and you, Sam used to have steak every Monday without fail. It was amazing.
Yeah, Monday steak night was always the greatest day of the week. Right. I'm surprised that... Are you typing away, Rachel? Are you posting this anyway, by the way?
I've already put it where I'm going to be posting it.
Okay. Right, so we've got 4 minutes. I'll start the countdown on here now. So let's put the online in.
Sam is like this badass space wolf.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's mainly because of the program we use to go on to do the switching. So I can't appear on the Hangouts. I only appear on YouTube, which is rather annoying for everybody on the Hangout itself.
Wait, so why don't you appear here?
Because I have to use my webcam on the streaming software, and it won't let you use the webcam in 2 places, so it can't show on Hangouts as well as the streaming software. And the way that Google Hangouts works is I can never get my face to pop up as whenever I'm speaking, because I'm the host.
Okay. Well, all that's missing from your picture is a comment saying, "I consider this to be minimum tabletop standard."
Yeah.
They were
right. Of having anything on the table less than this.
Yeah.
It only took me 5 hours to paint it.
I was going to go back and do all of those Space Wolves again. I've got so many. I've got 3,000 points to do. I don't know.
Actual painting, Sam?
Yeah, that is tabletop as well.
Oh, you're kidding! Nailed it! Oh, that's fantastic.
Like an open book.
You need to see his
meter, you know, for every time I say that.
You need to have a look at his Oryx on the YouTube channel, because they were also painted in a hurry to tabletop standard, and it's hilarious. It's just, yeah, who's tabletop, we're not quite sure.
I'm swearing you to secrecy, okay? It's about...
Okay.
Those only took me 16 hours to paint the whole army.
Wow.
2 days to paint that army.
Oh, wow. It took me, I think mine was 3 weeks, and it was a lot of time. 3 weeks is like solid painting.
You really are doing almost box art quality.
Yeah.
It's actually really good. And the scaling of quality is really, really a giant. Still, like, I'm 15 years in, going 14 years, and I'm surprised at far pictures than with the has come, but more surprised at how little has changed or really improved. So it speaks to the nature of social media and the low barriers to entry that exist because of that.
Yeah, definitely.
YouTube, just the whole concept of YouTube. You, old person, can now have videos that you can see. And it's this incredible meritocracy because, you know, just whatever people are in, that's what you find. You're as likely to find something by NBC as you are, you know, some douchebag jumping off a cliff to impress his girlfriend. 27 million views.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about that the other day. If you wanted to get hits on YouTube, you jump off a roof. If you want to get, you know, quality channels and quality information, you're not going to get the views, but it depends what you want to get from YouTube, really. Sacrifice the views for quality. Right, we're going 15 seconds, then it's going to go to our splash logo, and then we'll be live. 16 people waiting at the moment.
Let's do this. Floss on standby.
English accent ready.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's bad. It's real bad.
Okay, and we are live. Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight on this wonderful Sunday special with Blue Table Painting. Sean from Blue Table Painting. So who's in the chat? We have Phil. I think he's introducing himself. Phil's here as always. We have the wonderful Rachel.
Hey.
And we have the spectacular Sean.
Hey! I'm channeling the spirit of Ed Grimley. You guys laugh. That's so sweet. You can Google it later.
I will do as well. I think Phil, do you know who that is?
Not saying.
Phil's
Not saying.
saying.
Okay, so a lot of people do know about Sean and Blue Table Painting as a whole. We're going to go over for this first part of this show, for anybody who doesn't know about Blue Table Painting, what it is all about. Go through some background of Blue Table Painting, and then we're going to go on to some topics. We're going to have a little bit about the new 8th edition updates again, like we're doing every day. We're getting more and more information from Games Workshop, and then we're going to have some more topics as well afterwards. So we've got a lot to get through. We have a lot of people in the chat already, so we're going to try and keep up with everybody as much as possible. Do a quick rundown on who is in the chat just to acknowledge. So we've got Karanis, John Booth, Stu Rat, Steve McCraggum, James Westwood, Muldist, Sean Jewett, and I think that's everybody at the moment who said something. So welcome and thank you for joining us on this fine Sunday evening. So start off with a little bit about what Blue Table Painting is. And well, we'll start with yourself, Sean. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and what Blue Table Painting is all about?
Okay, but right after this, I want to hear about you guys.
Yeah, okay.
I just happened on your Facebook page, and I don't know why, but you all seemed so wonderful and nice that I decided to get in contact. And it's really been quite pleasant so far. So thank you very much for having me. It's really awesome.
No problem at all.
Me personally, let's see if I can do it in 30 seconds. I grew up in Southern Oregon, backwoods. I barely graduated from high school because half my teachers were high. And I went to college in Southern Oregon for language arts Spanish education. I was an elementary school teacher, 4th grade, in San Francisco for about 4 years. Almost the whole time I was painting figurines whenever I could. I loved to paint. I would show up every week at the game shop, not play a game, but just sit there to show off my painted figurines because I was enjoying that so much. And then one summer in 2003, a friend of mine said, "Hey, why don't you paint my dwarfs?" So, you know, I looked up the phrase on Urban Dictionary to make sure it wasn't something dirty. Then I agreed to paint his dwarf army, and the rest is history. I started doing it in my garage. I moved to Utah. My now ex-wife has family out here. That's why we ended up here. And yeah, went through a succession of ever-enlarging studios. At its zenith, Blue Table Painting had right around 30 people working. we had, we bought and renovated this giant 10,000 square foot studio. It was really quite an adventure. And since then, I've moved to Salt Lake, where I'm very peacefully running a much more efficient, toned down version of that bustling company.
Okay.
I think that's it. that was pretty fast, huh?
Yeah, that was really good.
That was a good recap.
So Blue Table Painting is obviously commission painting. What sort of projects do you take on?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. The majority of this sector is serviced by solo boutique painters who, for the most part, only do almost or their best work. And that's really amazing. And I love that and I admire that. But Blue Table Painting is one of the very few workhorse companies where not only can we do the higher end stuff, but we can also paint your 500 Skaven and we'll just get it done. And I've often said that Blue Table Painting is like the ugly girlfriend of painting services because, we're there when you need us to get.
Because over the year, the projects I've seen, you do a lot of updates on your own YouTube channel, and the amount of projects that you get through and the scale of the projects is just incredible. If you want like a 5,000 or 10,000 point army, Blue Table Painting is really the place where you go to get that sort of project done.
Yeah, we can wrangle it.
Yeah. And it's good.
And it's unrivaled. So far, we're at minimum. Okay, 3 years ago, when I changed my website, I got a new website. The old website was up to 6,500 galleries. So I subtracted 500 because some of them were repeats or they were parent galleries. So 6,000 would be a reasonable amount of projects to say. And right now I make extremely conservative estimate of 7,000 projects total.
Yeah, which is just incredible.
That is a lot of models.
Flickr, I think we're coming up right around 2,000 projects, which is and a lot of armies. So if you've ever been to Adepticon, well, I guess you guys haven't.
We haven't. No.
You go there, and you look at all the armies that are there. That's about how many armies BTP has painted.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's not just the painting. Go on, Rachel.
It's an economy. It's an economy and a scale that is really outside of what normally happens in this sector. Is hard to get your.
Yeah, you guys are definitely the biggest ones out there by far, aren't you? And I know obviously when you started doing it, there just wasn't really sort of kind of market out there. You essentially created this market yourself, really.
Yeah, well, it created itself. I have what I call the big swimming pool theory, and I don't talk much about it, but think about it. Games Workshop sells over $2 million worth of unpainted, unassembled models every year. So in the last 5 years, they've put out at least 1 billion of unassembled and unpainted figurines. And so if every single person had their models professionally assembled and painted, like all those are done for money, then it's about 2 or 3 times that. Of course, it doesn't scale up that way because not everyone's going to do it. The money starts cannibalizing itself, meaning somebody might pay to get their army painted rather than buy new figures. And so there's a lot of other factors there. But on a conservative scale, there's at least $100 to $200 million a year worth of business to be had. So when you look at that, Blue Table Painting has to get a dent. It's this giant like swarm this chaos, this huge sponge from the Eye of Terror that's absorbing all of these commissions, just moving them helter-skelter.
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard about you was because I was sort of saying I'd looked at all the Games Workshop models, and I've never really been into painting and building and things. I remember saying to Sam, it's like, why is there no one out there that's, you know, building these and painting these for someone? And Sam like just turned to me and went, there is, they're called blue table painting. Like, that exists.
It's a thing. Okay, so that's awesome. We'll do a few more questions actually based on blue table painting. So where did the name come from? That's one thing I wanted to know. Where did blue table painting originate from?
Right. That's a common question. In the summer of 2003, when I first started soloing out of my garage, I had a Yahoo Groups page to update my handful of clients, and it was called Gately's Painting Table. Original, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I had to come up with a name for the company on January 1st, 2004, I remembered I had a game shop back in Oregon where I had painted the front doors royal blue. And the doors were like these super old door. It was like a single door, but it was split in the middle. And it had these outward and inward swinging hinges. And I loved that door. And for whatever reason, I decided to desecrate it by putting royal blue paint on it. So the original name was Blue Door Painting, but when I went online, I found some other companies were using that. So I just combined Blue Door and Gately's Painting Table into Blue Table Painting.
So
that's
interesting.
And incidentally, fun fact, there is no blue table. There's never been a blue table. Because the blue table is in.
Have you ever been tempted to rebrand at all? Is it something that's ever crossed your mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, recently.
What if you weren't called Blue Table Painting, what would you be called?
Okay, this is terrible. I recently just got a spam email saying, hey, this domain name is available. This affordable miniatures painting. And it's apparently one of the searches that people do. Yeah. So, by the way, you're welcome, anybody that scoops that up. This is a terrible business person.
You should have just bought that. You know, you can just buy that and read.
So that's pretty cool. And
okay.
We're going to maneuver into where our strength has always really lain, which is just to get it done. And like you go around and you really are looking for the cheapest. If you go into the Pacific Rim or again Eastern Europe, you can get your models done for maybe $5 a figure for a basic infantry, all the way down to maybe $3. I don't think it goes below $3. If it went below that, I'd be really suspicious of that, no matter where in the world it was. And of course, going overseas has the challenge of going through customs twice. If you send your models out, your $2,000 a figure's got to go through customs twice, which can be a little dicey. But anyway, basically making a U.S. version that will just get it done. You know, if you're sick of looking at your gray plastic, just shovel them right on in. Carefully, I've been sort of offering that to my clients. Like right now, if you make an inquiry, I'll give you the standard price. Again, I haven't really fixed it in. But there will be a paragraph in there saying, hey, if you're not too picky, then you can get it for half of what I've quoted for the lowest level. And that's really wow. This sounds like a plug.
It leads on to the next part I was going to ask, really, which was how did you briefly again? How did you come up with because you've got your pricing guide, which you've been doing over many years in terms of working out the right price for yourself as a business and for your customers. But how did you work all of that out? What was the process for working out a pricing list for your commission business?
Yeah, absolutely. When I first started, I talked to another solo painter, but in the years to come, I just listened to my artists. Every time an artist came in, I would say, "Hey, was something particularly difficult or particularly easy to paint?" And started fiddling around pricing structure based.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
artist feedback.
Yep.
When you bring in those new artists, you know, what's the common experience they give when they to the, are they shocked by pace, or do you ever come across that as an issue? Or because I work in the creative industry as well, and designers particularly don't like to compromise their artistic integrity for a commercial reality of needing to get the work done. Do you experience that in your industry?
Well, it can come back to that because a solo artist, they can't take torpedo. And of course, in the age of social media, one mistake can become all that you are. And it can get blown out of proportion and it never goes away. So you're right. I think that's why people are so careful. With my company, bring people in under, like you serve for the glory of the dojo. So, and we're careful to explain what clients are getting up front, and also when we present the product too. And that's advice I would give to anybody entering this industry. Don't let the product out until the client has approved of it explicitly.
Yeah.
There you go. But there's another issue which just correlates with it. Is it okay if I go on, or do you have something else?
Yeah, go for it. Well, this is, again, you're kind of going through the list of questions I've got quite perfectly, because the next part was what sort of advice do you have for other businesses in terms of setting up. There's a few in the chat right now. So one person's just said, where is it? Sean Dewan, no questions, just that Sean has inspired me to take the dive into being a full-time commission painter. Always loved his videos, especially the rambles. So there's people in the chat here who've been inspired to start a commission business based on what they've seen you do.
And so they'll really benefit from this advice as well, to be fair.
Yeah. So is there any advice you would give on top of what you've already said to help out other commission painters?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first off, and this is related to both the last question and this one, is fragmentation. You got to understand that the nature of doing this is that groups of people fragment into all the way down to 1%. And I think that because I've built it up like again and again, it's like I built the castle once and it sank into the swamp. I built another castle and that too sank into the swamp. Like that's very familiar to me. And so, first off, if you start as a solo painter and you start having a lot of success and start bringing other people on, be very do that. I'm not saying that it's a bad idea to do it, but just really think about it, about how, why you want to do it. There is an ideal number of people to be involved in a studio. I think that there's quite a few studios that are starting to get up there. One, I guess, getting a plug here is Awaken Realms.
Mm-hmm.
I usually don't look at other commission painters or companies. I just concentrate. Advice: prolific. Don't be afraid to put your stuff out. Put something out there every single day, and just modulate that ideal size for your company. Typically, duos like a couple, for example, a husband-wife team, they tend to do very well, and because you don't have the crushing pressure of the solo person, but you also don't have the fragmentation of a larger group.
Mm-hmm.
All the way up to 4 to 6 people is probably ideal. When I was running my company in 2010, I think we had 12 people, and it turns out that's almost the ideal size, at least for how I'm doing it.
Yeah.
When you get to 30 people, I mean, I met one of my artists in the grocery store, And he was like, "Hey, Sean, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hi, do I know you?" It's like, "Yeah, I've been working at your place for 2 months." And I was like, "Oh, wow, this is getting out of control." So, don't you remember Aaron, Sean? He worked for you for 3 months. So you gotta, and that's really my advice for someone getting into this is think carefully on what you really want to get out of it. Because if you're going to build an empire, go out with the idea that you're going to build an empire at it.
Definitely.
Don't have it be by accident.
No, properly think about it.
Well, I guess on that note, then, what about like other YouTube channels and more generally, not necessarily commission painters, but people like us who are obviously trying to start a different business away from the commission painting and starting up a YouTube channel? What advice would you have for people like us, I guess?
Are you ready for the golden dew of wisdom to distill up?
Yes, definitely.
One thing though, before we do that, Sean, before you switch to your headset, your microphone will be a little bit better in terms of you get a few people in chat struggling to hear the audio. Would you be able to unplug
the headset?
I think try without the headset. We'll see if the microphone's any better.
Okay, how's that?
Yes, we'll stick with that. We'll do that. Right.
Well, yeah.
So the
headset would be better, but I guess not.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why the microphone seems to pick it up and then it fades out towards the end. So we're ready for the golden nugget of information for YouTube channels.
Okay, great. Okay, the internet is great at people finding out how awesome you are, but terrible at telling people how awesome you are. So all you gotta do is just do something awesome and put it up there every day. That's it. Okay. Just go. And because it's certainly not about quality. And quality helps, don't get me wrong. That's somewhere where I really need to shore it up, especially with battle reports. But personality, enthusiasm, and just being prolific is pretty much the whole game, in my opinion. And you just got to be your regular awesome selves and talk to people and just keep putting it up there. I mean, I think the titans, one of the titans of this realm is mini wargaming, and those guys actually were inspired by me. Like, they contacted me. Yeah, we've had them out maybe 6 times to Valhalla, and which, by the way, is still going amazing. Yes. And really well too, even though I'm not running it, which is even better. So I get to go and be a part of it, but not worry about it, which is pretty much the best ever. So anyway, mini wargaming, I remember talking to them, and they said that when I had 500 subscribers, they were like, "Well, if this guy can do it, we can do it too." You know, and now they're doing infinitely better than what my organization is doing. They're really doing fantastic. So, you know, just be prolific and let that personality go. And that's why I think you guys are really strong. I've seen a lot of people doing what you guys are doing, and I don't know why it is, but I think your group really has some special quality, a ring to it.
That's awesome. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you very much for that. No, that's really appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Group effort. We've got some questions as well.
Yeah, hold on. Before we go on with the questions, I want to hear about your endeavor. I really don't know very much about it. How did you guys get started, and you know, what's your deal?
Phil, do you want to go through it?
Yeah, I mean, a shorter version, because the other night I did quite a long one, didn't I? So, Sam was a store manager at a Games Workshop store and decided he needed a change, wanted to move out of retail, didn't you? You were kind of not quite sure what to do next, and I'd always been a massive fan of his painting, and I'd kind of been a customer of the store as well. And my background is in sort of digital agency, so I was saying to him, I think there's a real opportunity for your personality, the skill in terms of your painting there's an audience out there for it, and maybe you should try something. And it kind of chewed the cud for a few days, didn't we? And then you came back to me and said, well, why don't we do something together? Because I was working on, my hobby tends to be on a larger scale. I tend to do terrains and, you know, entire armies and things. And I'm an airbrush guy, and, you know, Sam's more the traditional painter and Rachel's the power player. So kind of between the three of us, there was a good balance there, really. And yeah, we spent getting on for a year, sort of saying, well, if we're going to launch, you know, as I've identified, Sean, there's a lot out there. And we said, if we're going to launch, we need to launch hard and fast with a lot of content. So we spent a year getting the kind of the look and feel of it right, you know, what our content and our schedule and what we're trying to do, and planning the website and all the rest. So there was a lot of planning. We didn't drip feed into the market sort of thing. We planned a lot in advance. The only thing, of course, as soon as we went live that we found is we had never gone live before, or, you know, put our content out there, and you just have that horrible crunch moment when you go, will people actually like this, or will they hate my beard? And, you know, Sam's good looking. Do I look really ugly next to him, and all those things? You know?
I love your beard, Phil.
Oh man, I'm screenshotting that. That's going on my phone.
But there's been a lot of work. I mean,
I bet
there's
it's
another
like
guy.
a bristly brush.
The chat saying I'm the beard, hashtag team beard. We all love your beard. And it's just been cut down. I wanted to mention as well, there was also Mike, who's started to get involved with the as well. Kind of a group all in the same area. We wanted to do something exciting and fun and take it to the internet, and that's pretty much what we've done. Rachel's got involved with the gaming side of things because she doesn't paint and she doesn't build models, but she loves playing games. And we're kind of just trying to do a bit of everything to do with the hobby, but keeping it our hobby at the same time. So doing battle reports, doing our painting tutorials. The live chats was probably the hardest one to initially do, like Phil was saying, but it's probably one of my favorite parts now is jumping onto the chat on a Wednesday and a Friday and on a Sunday as random, and just talking to the community and engaging with everybody. And that's probably, I'd probably put that up there as my favorite part now, is engaging with the entire community, because it's so massive and so welcoming. And every morning I wake up and the first thing I do is check my messages and reply to people and check the comments and reply to them. It's fast. Well, it's very rapidly becoming an hour or a 2 hour or 3 hour job to go through all the comments and reply, but I'm determined to do as much as possible every day. So but that's the brief background. Not as brief as yours.
That's really amazing. That's really something. After the show's over, remind me to talk to you about numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, sounds good.
Because there's huge potential with what you guys are doing. And this is relevant because I'm just coming out of a period where I've been kind of almost like hibernating. Like I've just been really being very peaceful and measured with what it is that I'm doing. And then you guys happen along. You guys are amazing. I really think you guys have something here, especially now that you've told me a little bit more about it, that you're going about it in a very calculated way, and also bringing enthusiasm and personality. That's huge, guys. That's really huge. Okay, what's next?
I think we'll go through some questions. We'll go through, because normally we go through a lot of the community stuff. There's a whole lot of people chatting, a lot of people sharing their love for you, Sean, more than anything. We've got some questions. I think Phil's written down a bunch of questions as well, so we'll go through some of those. I'm just going to chuck some names out. I apologize if I've missed anybody as well, but Henry Armstrong has joined, Kablams has joined. We have Ryan Benfield, Crazy Hippo 99. We're up to 38 at the moment. He's climbing. Simon Stephenson, I don't think I've seen you before. Thank you for joining, Simon. Lance, who else is there? Forge NZ. Lol, Rachel the power gamer. Yes, Rachel is the power gamer, but she's very friendly and it's enjoyable to still play against her, so it's not a problem.
That's the worst one. Oh, yeah.
But you can never get angry with Rachel because she just smiles and you go, yeah, whatever, that's fine. We've got ADZ Hintoa. Welcome again. Thank you for joining. Jim Wilson, Ashley Perkins, Phoenix, Katie Hunter.
Crappy.
She had
a long previous chat.
Yeah, she had cramps 2 weeks ago, and she came on the chat to try and feel a little bit better about herself. And she watched the chat and felt better afterwards, so that was good. Okay, Phil, questions for Sean. What else have we got?
Right, I've got a question from Phoenix0879, which is, what are all of our thoughts on the Caradron Overlords? Well, I think I've done an unboxing and I've raved about them, so I won't come into this. But maybe start with Sean, the new Overlord range, the dwarves in tin armor.
Oh, well, obviously they're fantastic. And doing what I do, I look at the giant gunship and I'm like, oh man, people are going to want that assembled and painted. And it's hugely, it's not a Land Raider. It's assembling and painting that is probably the equivalent of 3 or 4 Land Raiders. I mean, it's huge. Like, in my assessment, it's probably, to do that model is pretty much the same as a Warhound Titan from Forge World. The amount of detail, the complexity, the plastic stand that it's on is just waiting to snap. I don't know, but this is how I look at it. From that, but obviously the range is amazing, and I think Games Workshop is making some really smart moves to protect their intellectual property. And they even say it up front, unlike anything you've ever seen before.
Yeah.
Asterisk. Don't copy this.
Yeah.
Love and hugs, New Games Workshop. Okay, well, shall we move on to the next question? We've got one from Koranish. Sean, what happened to Valhalla? I see Wargamer Girl now hosts it. I think you may have covered that a little bit, but...
Yeah, why did you stop posting it then? What happened there?
Oh, fantastic. Yes, I would love to tell this story. But give on a scale of 1 to 5, give me the detail level that you want.
2.
Did you say 2?
Purely because of the amount of questions we've still got.
Okay, fantastic. So basically, we hosted, the original idea was to do 6 to 12 a year and have them be specialized in nature. Like have Privateer Press one, have one for role-playing. And of course, it eventually morphed into doing 1 or 2 very large ones in a year. The last one I was involved with, I think it had 42 people. And on top of everything else I was doing, it was just too much to worry about it. The tickets, I mean, it costs, I won't tell you the numbers, but it's in the tens of thousands of dollars. That's the measurement you're using to put on this giant party in this mansion for a week. And to get all the tables, transport everything, all the risks associated with the transport, you know, looking at what everyone's doing, hearing everyone's feedback afterwards. And there's an economy. For me, there's an economy to it, which is my attention. And so when I use the word peaceful, the last year has been peaceful. I can't stress that enough. Like, I have very few things to really put my attention on them compared to past years, and it feels awesome. So long story short, in 2014 was the last one I did, October. And then in 2015, I had no plans. People were asking about it left and right. And I was just like, no, don't even talk to me about it. I can't even look at Valhalla right now. And, you know, I always said that Valhalla was like the bad girlfriend. You know, when she's good, she's real good. But when she's bad to you, oh, she's so bad. And, you know, come on, guys, that relationship. So, long story short, I was in New Mexico, and I looked up Wargamer Girl and her beau, and went out to dinner with them, and that's all they wanted to talk about. Valhalla this, Valhalla that. What about Valhalla? And I was just like, guys, can we talk about something else? And then that led into them contacting me, and we just started talking about having them do it. And so in the end, even though I had really busted my teeth building the franchise, in the end, I just, it felt so good just to pass the torch. And right now, of course, you go look at their Kickstarters for it, and they're handling it really, quite frankly, a lot more intelligently than I ever did. For example, by having a Kickstarter rather than just going to their own base and selling tickets. And it's great. They're doing really a fantastic job. And I've publicly, for whatever it's worth, I've publicly endorsed and passed the torch to Miranda for that one.
And of course, you're going to be attending this year, so you're going to be able to just enjoy it and relax.
With no worries, and just get to know people or just be there.
Can you take a few more photos of the view?
There's more to this story. Hold on a second. I'm not done with the concept of Valhalla. That's like integral to my big dream, capital B, capital D. And so this year, possibly next year, I'm going to start doing just small ones, maybe 6 to 12 people, for very specific things. A school of paintology, bring out some master painters, and of course have the games and the boards and everything there, which is the asset I still have. I still own this absolutely stunning collection of terrain. And the other thing is Ultimate D&D, which I can't call it that because of the trademarks, but Ultimate Fantasy Role-Playing, let's say, and basically DM a game. DM a world-class game with 100% terrain, 100% miniatures. I've got so many great ideas for it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the payoff for getting on such an even footing these last 1 or 2 years.
Oh, that sounds brilliant.
We've got
you to pay for those in Warwickshire and UK then. We're only an hour's drive from Nottingham as well, so you could pop up and see Games Workshop.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm not sure what's happening with the live feed in terms of people joining. I think there's a few people in the chat saying it's not showing up on YouTube. So our viewers are all from Facebook at the moment. So our link is on Facebook, and that's how people are getting here. If you are in the chat right now,
can share the link.
Share the link to as many wargaming places as possible. The other thing is next to our subscribe button, there's a small bell, and you can click that, and that will give you notifications in the future streams that we do. So at least you'll get an update then. It's worth clicking that.
From what I've seen, though, they're saying it simply isn't showing in our list of videos. It's not showing as broadcasting. Not quite sure why.
Okay.
Let's push on with the questions, though. I've got one from McCracken. I have to say one thing. My favourite work blue table painting did was the Leviathan Titans. You guys did as Mechanicus Army. You used it to inspire my Chaos one. So that's really a question inspired by you. The Leviathan Titans. I actually remember that. That was lovely work. Kablams, I think the first blue table painting video I ever watched was an old Tau drone army when he was researching his own. So.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's in 2007.
I like how you know
that video has like 48,000 views on it now. It just won't die. But boy, I sure love drones. I'm like, I love drones so much. I want an army of all drones. I had a hammerhead drone that was like, it was the size of a hammerhead tank. And I went to my assembly guys. I'm like, make me a drone, make me a Tau drone the size of a hammerhead with a giant railgun on it. And they did it. They actually made it out of flight stands, like 60mm flight stands, which they reconfigured and added things to.
Oh, nice. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go check that video out. I haven't actually seen that one, so I'll go. Not now. I'll just we've got lots of people saying they've been inspired by you. So some questions aren't questions. One was Crazy Hippo said the reason he picked his Seraphon Force for Age of Sigmar was because of you guys.
Oh, okay.
We do have a question here. When waiting for client's approval, if you have to do multiple iterations from your initial pricing, so I think that's, do you work to a fixed cost basically, or do you iterate your price if they're not happy? That's from a...
Oh, this
Piranhas.
really speaks to advice for somebody getting into doing this, which is make sure up front it's clear what it is that you're going to do. And so my objective is to charge somebody one time and do the job one time as well. And that's getting clear instructions and make sure the contract is clear up front really saves a lot of issues. That said, we definitely will make adjustments and work with the client to a great extent. But if the client says, hey, I know I said I wanted them to be all red armor, could you do them blue armor instead? Well, that's an entirely different matter. But you know what? I really don't come up against that. It's almost not really something that happens. Most of the time, the client just says, hey, this is how I want them painted. We paint them like that, and everything works out just fine.
Yeah. Another question from the same guy, Karanis, so saying, do you charge for overtime? So if you've got your initial time estimate wrong, do you pass on the cost to the customer?
Oh, no. It's flat rate.
Yeah. Okay.
The client says, hey, this is how I want it done. And, you know, anyone that reads my terms of service or reads the emails that I send is really going to have a good time because it's very clear, it's explained very well, and I really generally don't have these types of issues.
Yeah.
Maybe one or two projects in 100. But again, multiply that by 7,000 projects. And, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I have no legs, because they've been all blown off by landmines. You know.
Well, an easier question now, maybe. We all know you play war games, but which is your favorite system?
Are you ready?
Why and how?
Because I have one, guys. I'm going to coronate the best miniatures battles game that has ever been created. And you might not like it. You're all smiling now. Stop smiling. Because it's Drop Zone Commander.
Yeah, I've heard that. A lot of people saying good stuff about it.
That game is insanely good. The models, the company, the owner. I can't say enough good things about it. Every time I've played it, I've had an amazing cinematic, nail-biting, well-balanced game. Absolutely tremendous.
Wow. Well, we were at Salute last week, and they had a huge stand there with that giant orbital ship. Just amazing
the Avenger.
Stuff. I tell that story about 20 times, but we had so much that day, and I just couldn't justify buying that day. But definitely want to look at Drop Zone Commander. I love it. I love the aesthetic. It's every single race. There's not one I don't like. It's just great. Right. One more question, I think. How do you find motivation when commissioned to paint models that you find uninspiring? Years ago, I was asked to paint an army for someone and struggled due to the models. That's from Phoenix0879 again.
That kind of ties into one of the other questions we've got later on. We could probably tie it into this one of the topics. And that was, when you start to build and paint an army, how do you mentally prepare yourself for the work that's going to be on the way? Because you're experienced in doing the massive armies. But for myself, I can't. If I look at a huge task, I just go into, you know, depression mode. I think, oh, there's loads to do here. I can't do it. So how do you motivate yourself, and how do you mentally prepare to do these big tasks?
Okay, well, first off, if you find most of your projects to be horrible and require a lot of motivation, maybe you might consider doing something different. And because looking back to my solo days, I really never had that. I was always interested in what I was doing. One of my first projects was to paint a Dark Angels chapter. So one of my first clients wanted me to round out his 1,000 infantry Dark Angels chapter. And by the way, I've heard it from him in recent years. He lives out in California, and he's still got it. He still got it and uses it. And I think he had like 250 done already, And he just sent me those and 750 other guys and just did it. And for me, I just always had, in terms of being a soloist, I always just had the chops for it. Like I can sit down and go for 10 hours and just, you know, take a good stretch at 11 o'clock at night, watch some CSI, go to sleep, and start it all over the next day. And that was California in my garage. And I enjoyed it. And it sure beat being a school teacher, I'll tell you that. But the real answer nowadays is I don't do it. I got other people, and I just assign things according to the skill level and the disposition of the painter. I have some painters that only want to paint high-level stuff. Not a problem. They're actually harder to find. And then I have a lot of painters that can paint, you know, the Wargamer standard or just one level above. And they don't mind painting 300 of the same thing. It's all fine.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow.
I don't do it.
So one of the other topics that we're going to shift onto these topics now. We could probably get through these fairly quickly, but with the big changes in 8th edition at the moment that Games Workshop is announcing and they're pushing through, I mean, we're Wargame Online, all of us are completely excited about it. We'll go to about the trailer. I don't know if you've seen the trailer and the updates to the rules and stuff, but when they change their rules, do you notice a change in more independent or more smaller game companies having a bit more of a presence? Do you get many requests for painting armies from different systems when they do a mix-up of the rules?
You know what? I should send this to you. I keep meticulous track of every single inquiry that I get. I write down who it's from, the money value, and the army or system that it was from. So I actually, if I wanted to, and I do, I could send you guys not the list of clients, but the list of what they inquired about. Many, many thousands of inquiries. And when I first started, it was 70 to 80% 40K. And of course, they're about to come out with a new edition, and they've had a long run up to 8th edition. So there's been a real slump in 40K business. But even before that, it's going down. Yeah, there's definitely smaller players that are starting to eat up the interest level. So the answer is, well, of course, smaller actors can get in on the action when there's a shakeup. The shakeup gives them an opportunity more often than shaking them out.
And the other flip side of that is, with the build up to 8th edition, do you have a lot of requests at the moment asking about new armies ready for 8th? Do you have stuff on the cards ready to start as soon as 8th edition hits?
No. I can tell you exactly how this works. When a new codex is announced, there's like a curve to it. So it's dead. No one buys anything until the new book comes out. Then you have a wave of first adopters, and then there's another slump, and then you get the competitive players, which is a higher wave, because they're more invested in the game and they're ready to plunk down a lot more cash for something they're going to really seriously use and enjoy. So the curve goes a little like this. Big slump, then a hump up of interest, and then a minor slump, and then a very large wave of interest.
Yeah.
Now, 8th edition is pulling all codexes. So right now, I'm standing on the beach, and all the ocean is just going out. It's just going out, and it's not coming back in again. And I know what happens next. Like, thank you guys for bringing this up, because I need to hire about 10 new people. Yeah, there's going to be a wave.
Yeah.
An indescribably huge wave of interest.
Awesome. That's interesting.
Can I just ask a question based on that? You said you need to hire about 10 new people. So do you have remote workers? Do you have workers outside of the US, for instance? Or does that become impossible to control?
Artists are
quality.
notoriously fickle. They're a free-spirited lot, and let me tell you, it's hard enough when they live 10 minutes from you, which is the great thing about Salt Lake, is I have an amazing base for labor. So and that's the big reason why I moved here, and it's paid off. It's paid off really well. In Spanish Fork, which I was there for 13 years, Spanish Fork is a relatively rural area, and I had people who would fly out and be part of it. And I don't know, remote, it would be so nice, but the chances of someone being reliable are so slim that, I mean, now you could really get somebody who disappears, you know? And that of course, and I want to address this really quick. So right now, the industry is still being served by this horde of solo painters. Most of them with very, very, very few things in their portfolio. And but it never makes the news when one of them blows up, you know, and leaves 3 people hanging, because it's just not worth talking about. But I think it's a lot more common than you might think. And with my company, the huge advantage is the track record, is that you're vastly reducing your risk by using blue table painting in the long run.
Yeah. With that as well, actually, do you get many armies sent from the UK, or do you have many commission projects from the UK, or is it very heavily US based?
I have a surprising amount of inquiries from the UK and Europe. It always surprises me. And for a while there, I was just like, why, you really need to look local. And now I don't say that, I just take the business. But yes, it's a surprising amount.
Awesome.
Well, and the exchange rate can help too. Labor costs and exchange rate can help too. Like Australians love me, because if I acquire their models, I can almost acquire and assemble and paint them for the amount they would pay for them retail in an Australian store.
Yeah, that's true.
So I get a lot of big orders out of Australia for whole armies.
Yeah, that's good for them, and it's good for you. Right, we'll go on to the next part then, which is 8th edition, I think. We've got a lot of people asking about 8th edition in the chat. But have you seen the new trailer that came out today with Rabuti Gilliman?
Ah, his name is Rabuti!
Yeah.
Totally. Start your conversions, gentlemen. For Rabuti.
Is now the time for your English accent?
Right then, an English accent, eh?
Yes, we're ready.
Governor?
We knew it was coming as well. We knew it was on the way.
Down to me. No, I love the English accent. In fact, my most recent assistant, her name is Tara, and she was English, and actually worked as the chief baker at an English import bakery here. So when she interviewed with me, I'm just like, oh yeah, I can't do without this English accent. Already, us Yanks are suckers for the accent. We love it.
Works every time.
We should just move over there then, Phil. Phil, Rachel, Mike, me. We'll pack up and come to America.
Please. You come to Valhalla.
Yes.
Yes.
It looks amazing.
It is amazing. You guys should talk. Maybe I can get you free something.
It must be pretty much this time last year when we were talking about, like, when do we know we've made it? When we get invited to Valhalla.
Well, you've made it. I think it'd be great. What's happening now is spontaneously individuals are starting to rent satellite cabins and basically give people like a wholesale rate for rooms in the cabins. And
that's amazing.
then all you gotta buy is the day pass, which I think is like $350. You know, and they give me, last year they gave me a small number of free passes for that. So you guys should talk to me after the show.
Definitely.
Okay. Go on, Phil.
Yeah, most of the questions now, Sam, just to say, I've got a list of questions, but they are all focusing around 8th edition. What is Sean most excited about? What does he think of the skirmish? Does that, you know, and all sorts of stuff like that. So maybe we should just move on to the next topics, and if I can drop these questions.
The Given teaser trailer. So I had goosebumps while I watched it. I have now switched to the Imperial, or the Imperium, and the Indomitus Crusade is going to have me on the Imperium side. But what are your thoughts about this whole 8th edition shift and what is going to be happening going forward, Sean?
Am I talking too much?
No.
It feels like...
No.
Okay.
We can get Rachel's
later. I assumed that's why I was here. So
yes.
The way I go. 8th edition. The big news with 8th edition is that all of the army books are being thrown out, all the old ones. And all new army books effectively are being done from scratch. And this is so huge because it shakes up the whole, like any army could come in, and if they've done the game well, if they really did it this time, then you can come in and any army could be, quote, good. And I'm excited for Tyranids, of course. Eldar has been my favorite since '97. By the way, this is my 20th Wargaming anniversary. And so Eldar have always been my favorites because I'm kind of a vain, prancing space elf in real life.
Me too.
Yes. So pretentious. So vain. Anyway, yeah, much like an Eldar. And of course, if you watch my battle reports with Rich, who plays orcs, you really are looking at a real life Eldar and a real life orc. I mean, we just had a lot of cosmetic surgery to look human, basically. And so anyway, Tyranids. I've always loved Tyranids. I'm excited. I'm excited about Gene Stealer Cult because now you can do kind of this, you know, grungy Imperial vehicle sort of thing. And that's very exciting to me. I actually have a, oh my gosh, a Gene Stealer Cult army formulated. Like I've got like 40 or 50 infantry already painted up for it and some specialty vehicles. I'm looking forward to how much you're going to be able to customize it. And anyone, you know, from the early 2000s remembers how strict the force organization was. And you couldn't really make a themed army or make the army that you wanted. And now it looks like they're going to strike a really nice balance with that freedom to bring in the models that you want and do what you want. Like if you're willing to take a slight competitive disadvantage, then you can just do these really crazy fluff armies. And I think that's really going to do well for the game.
Yeah, and I think there's the option of 14 different force organizational charts. So you've got a choice. Whichever army you have, you can pretty much fit it into one of those charts and play it. Yeah. Which leaves it much more open. Okay, so that's...
I'm really on the edge of my seat. That's all they got to do. We just need the rule book and the PDFs. Let's get going. I don't know why they're dragging this out to June 10th. You know,
it is confusing, isn't it? If you feel they've got everything in place, it's all done, then let us all play around with it for a few weeks before the official stuff comes out. Because we're sat here. I was setting a game up with my son this morning, and we were saying, should we do 40k? And it was just, we looked at each other and went, oh, we'll just do Age of Sigmar, because kind of it feels like a strange thing to play a game system that's on its way out, and we're all just waiting for 8th edition. Saying that, we then, after the Age of Sigmar game, said, let's do one last goodbye to 7th, I think. So we are going to do that game.
Yeah, see, I did say to Sam, I was like, I'm so glad I didn't spend all that time and effort learning 7th edition, knowing that actually 8's coming out just around the corner, because that would have been so frustrating to invest that amount of time. But saying that, I'm now really excited because it sounds like a lot of the big bit part of 8th edition is how easy it should be now to pick up. So I think actually now for me coming into 40k is the best time to be actually coming into it. But I really thought they should just before Warhammer Fest. I thought that would have been a sensible thing to do. But maybe they will. Maybe they'll surprise us.
And you played a lot of Age of Sigmar Age, so the rules are becoming more and more similar. They've taken a lot of things from there, so I think it will be even easier for you to pick up now that you've played Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be great. Contrary to some other people's beliefs, but no, I think it really will be quite exciting. I'm going to stand that outside of the fence.
Sit on the happy side and look into the nice, happy 8th edition field with the 8th edition sheep and get ready to join them. Okay, we've got a few more questions. We'll go back to the chat in a moment, Phil. I imagine you're still taking down notes. We've got a lot of extra people who are joining and saying hello.
Yeah.
Auric Love God has joined, Neil Malden, Sean Blake, Green Stuff Games, James Westwood, Monk. So welcome all to the stream. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. The next question will be a little bit about, I mean, this is kind of nice going on to 8th edition. How could you learn more about an opponent's army or strategies to combat them in the game? So where could you go for information to learn about other armies?
I mean, this kind of came from me, actually, because so I played a game against Sam, and what I realised was I knew my army, and I knew what I wanted to get from what my heroes could do and what my units could do. And I went and charged my Carnosaur straight to Sam's Iron Brute, which I later found was not a good idea. But the problem was I didn't know Sam's army well enough to know that that was a bad move. So, yeah, I guess the question sort of came from me, really. Well, how do you go about knowing opponents' armies and understanding tactics with regards to that and not just focusing on your own army?
Mm-hmm. Eric God said you should have won that game, Rachel.
Thanks, Eric Lovecat.
Betrayal. Sam was fortunate to walk away from the game, he says. Auric Lovegood, I thought we were friends. I thought we were part of the same Auric tribe, but never mind. Okay, so one thing I thought of in terms of where you can look is all over the internet, for one. You've got Wikipedia pages, places like 1D4chan, Reddit, and forums. And there's a whole load of people that give you a massive amount of information and their own insights in the game, where you can learn rules and tactics and just get a whole load of different opinions. And then you can work out what works from there for yourself. So that's something that I would say to look at. Sean, is there any places where you would say to go for information?
Yeah, I think you guys got it covered. I mean, I'm definitely coming from the casual gamer side, so I usually don't go online to find out what the meta is. I would say for War Machine, I'd go to Battle College. I know that's not what we're talking about, but I do want to plug that site. That's kind of what popped into my head.
Okay,
I'll have to check that out.
I never heard of it, to be honest.
It's really good.
So, what is it? Battle College? I suppose I can Google it and I can pop it up. I like
put
that.
A link
on the description at the bottom of
Yes.
Well, and it's that, at least for War Machine and Hordes, that is a great site to go for a new player.
Yeah.
Because it explains all of the units. Every time they release something new, there's an article about it on that channel. About
so it's almost
people
like
who have actually started using it.
Yeah, so it's like an academy or a school to go and learn how to fight everything, how to learn everything. Phil, have you got any other places where you can go for information?
Attend the tournaments, basically, because that's always I know it sounds, there's nothing like a baptism of fire. I think you just have to go play games and find out then. It's the best way.
Okay.
You know,
So
I mean,
games.
you can watch the stuff online and all the rest, but play games, play lots of games. It's something I don't do enough of. I need to play more games. But I know when you're playing regular, your game significantly improves. When you have to think less about how your army works and concentrate more on what to do with your army, then it gets a lot easier. So play lots of games. Yeah,
and you've got your local clubs, local stores, local clubs. Just turning up to those, not necessarily just tournaments. You can go anywhere. The more games you play, the more you're going to learn, and the better you'll get, and the more fun it'll be. And you'll play a variation of players rather than just me, Rachel, me and Phil. And Facebook groups and pages. I can't say enough. Actually, there's quite a lot of really good Facebook groups and pages that you can join, and you can ask questions about specific armies, and there'll be a whole host of people that are more than willing to tell you their opinion on how things work. So definitely check that out. We've got Tori Ling, who has just joined the chat, and I'm sure there was somebody else a second ago as well. Rykard, thank you both for joining as well. Okay, right. I think we've got 2 more questions, and then we can go through the community stuff. We've gone over a little over an hour, actually. I think it's because we've got so much to ask you, Sean, that we can't fit it into 1 hour.
How are you doing for time, actually, Sean?
I'm ready.
Are you okay to do a little bit more?
Oh, I'm fine with time.
Okay, great.
Okay, so what have we got next then? If you could make any board or miniature game, what would it be based on and how would it play? So, Rachel, do you want to start with you, and then we'll go to Sean, and then we'll go to Phil?
Yeah, I mean, Mark asked this in the chat, didn't he, a couple of weeks ago? And I on the spot, I couldn't really think of an answer, but since then, I did think of them. So obviously, as you know, me and my friend Annalise used to play board games since we were kids. So we'd constantly be finding like our dad's old board games and things like that. And every weekend we'd do like a little sleepover and crack out the board games. So I think for me, I would want to do a board game with Annalise. And given that she's a doctor, probably based on that kind of theme. So almost like, do you remember, what was it? It was not Roller Coaster Tycoon. Was it like Hospital Tycoon or something like that? That similar kind of thing. Essentially making that into a board game, I think could be quite a cool concept.
Theme Hospital.
That was the one.
I think Sean's struggling to hear us. Are you okay, Sean?
Yeah, I'm just putting in headphones.
Okay, that's fine.
That way there's no feedback from your noise.
I was going to say, at any point, just tell us to stop and we can sort things out. This is the joy of live feeds. It's not too much of an issue. We can stop at any point and we can sort things out. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, everything's fantastic.
Okay, so Rachel, Theme Hospital, a board game of Theme Hospital for you and Annalise to play.
Yeah, basically. Don't worry about the rest of the world as long as we've got a game to play.
Okay. That's fine then. That's nice. Sean, how about yourself? What sort of board or miniature game would you play, and how would it? What would it be based on, and how would it play?
Here, let's see how fast I can do this. So, my dream is to have a permanent Valhalla, and have waves of people out to, play on these permanently set up amazing boards that sort of rotate out of a vault. I've actually written a whole document on this. It's up to about 150 pages now. So anyway, but my dream boards that I'd like to do would be Zombicide, like a modern post-apocalyptic thing, and run it as an event where people come on, and the challenge is to take your group of survivors from one end of the board to the other and see if they can make it. But all three-dimensional, all high quality. I've always dreamed of doing a Tyranid hive ship, and I mean to like a really good scale, and get that up above people's heads with the height of it. And then my last one would be a superhero role-playing game board. One of my favorite role-playing games is called Champions. I actually run a game with a friend and our kids almost every week, and I pull out my terrain and we make up stories and stuff like that. That's really something I'd like to have more time for. But to build up a board that was a little bit like the Appleseed anime, like a futuristic sort of city with working parts to it. So like a monorail that goes around and lights that come on and off, or when you shut out the lights, it looks like the city at night. and just get some great miniatures and just have a blast with that board for a 1 to 4 week stay out at Valhalla.
That sounds amazing.
Right?
I know.
The only thing missing is that it looks like Rivendell.
That's not a problem. That's the benefit. That's a good thing. We've got somebody else. Jimmy's just said Mantic's Walking Dead is interesting. Sean, have you seen Mantic's Walking Dead game? It's called All Out War. Yeah,
I have. Walking Dead is sort of my guilty pleasure. I know I shouldn't be watching it because you really can't to maintain a positive attitude and watch this show because it's so depressing. You know,
the miniatures game, the game that me and Rachel did an unboxing of it a couple of weeks ago, but the miniatures are all based on the comic book rather than the TV series. So we don't really know how the comic book goes. We don't know how which characters are in there or not. We just saw loads of little zombie miniatures, and we played Zombicide before. Like you were saying, Zombicide was such a great game to get into, but Walking Dead was really good, and it gives you some of the characters you get from the TV series as well.
And actually, me and Phil did try a game of that. I think it must have only been last night, actually.
Yeah, it was last night, Rachel. It was late last night. It was more like this morning, but yeah.
And actually, I was surprised at how easy it was to pick up. So I think the game itself was sort of complex enough that when you do start bringing in more of the rules, it does become a very good, very complex, interesting game, and every game will be different. But actually, I thought I was really impressed with that tutorial that they did, that quick start guide, where they just introduced the very basics, and then they start introducing more rules, and then they introduce a few more. But it's enough that actually, even at the end of that, me and Phil both said, "Oh, actually, that was, I enjoyed that. That was a good game," even though we must have only been playing the most basic, simple version of that game. So I definitely
much to my satisfaction. Sorry, I'm going to say much to my satisfaction, Coral died in about 10 minutes, so it was perfect for me. Got rid of all my TV.
That was my fault. I was in charge of him.
It's Negan that we need to get. As soon as we get the Negan character, I'll start playing it with you. Phil, have you got any games that you would like to build or make? Any sort of board game?
You know what I like to build, which is huge terrain pieces. And to be honest, I've been thinking I was thinking, garden moles versus pelicans or something like that. But I'm perfectly
the game
happy.
You would invent.
Yeah.
That is the weirdest idea for a miniatures game I've ever.
At least
it's like somebody opens this huge box and they're like, "Wow, the pelican is to scale." It's 1 to 1. They weren't kidding.
Two-handed spade involved for the weaponry. I'm quite happy building big terrain pieces, so that's what I like. I'd like to expand my Zone Mortalis, the Mind Mortalis that I built for Genestealer Cult more. And interestingly enough, what Sean said there, the hive ship, because as you know, in the back end of that Zone Mortalis board, it goes from a mine to the insides of a long crashed hive ship. So I'd love to just expand that out and make more of that.
But the other one, I'm not even going to say what I'm interested in doing, because I want to talk about your idea of the craft world that you want to do as well. You want to build a craft world board.
I do want to build a craft world board. So far at scale, it's about 1 mile long. So there is an issue in terms of actually constructing that. I do need a private island or something. But no, I'll certainly I do plan to build a craft world terrain piece, which will have. I think I'd have to focus on the dock. It seems to make sense to have the dock area, which is where any invasion would take place or something. So that's what I'd like to build.
Okay.
But maybe one day.
And we've got a lot of people in the chat talking about Walking Dead, about the Kickstarter for Walking Dead, saying Negan all day long. Negan is the bad guy we've all been wanting. I love Walking Dead All Out War. Coral. Everyone has to say Coral. Tori Ling, I backed the Walking Dead No Sanctuary on Kickstarter. And James Westwood is Negan is the reason I still watch/read it. And that's my favourite part. Okay, so enough about Walking Dead. What have we got? Have we got any more questions from earlier, Phil?
No, sorry. I was just having a quick look, actually. There's somebody saying garden moles, truly British. I should have done that with a more British accent.
Well, Tory Ling
we do have Neil, sorry, go on. I was going to say we do have Neil saying he misses Sean and Richard's bat reps. So have you not been, do you plan on doing more of those?
Well, I've moved 1 hour north of where Rich lives. So instead of 10 minutes away, it's an hour away. So I haven't seen much of Rich. I do hear from him on occasion. Right now, he and one of my old assemblers, Thomas, are out in California. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Are out in California at the Broadside Bash. So I wish them the best of luck. And I gotta say, they've been doing really well for themselves in terms of war game community involvement.
Cool. So you're open for a new opponent then? That's what you need.
Yeah, I would actually like that. I haven't played a miniatures battles game in like 6 months.
Yeah.
And that's weird.
Yeah.
That's really like, I don't know what's going on. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm enjoying running the company so much that I just haven't made time for it. And in a way, I actually am doing miniatures battles just differently. I'm doing my champions thing with my sons, and doing that quite often. So there you go.
I think it takes up a lot of time. We've noticed, especially in the last 2 or 3 months that we've been doing just the YouTube side of things, not even running a commissioned studio, how much time it takes to run a business and engage with the community and make sure you've got updates and things like that. And I've definitely noticed a smaller amount of time becoming available to play games outside of doing it for the channel itself. So it is difficult to plan time in, but I think it's something you've got to get used to, especially for myself. Phil keeps telling me to take a break, and I'm like, no, we need more content. We need to keep doing content, but it's a matter of balancing between hobby life and channel life.
I'm just older than you, Sam, so I know the value of taking a rest every now and then.
Yeah. What's questions? What did my mouse? Has that just died? No, it's fine.
Awesome.
We have Tory Ling, who's asked a question. You said, I'm much more of a builder and painter. I hope I can start playing more. How do you guys adjust your mind about your great painted miniatures and seeing them blown up or die on the battlefield? So we get that a lot, shiny model syndrome. You've just spent a lot of time painting a really nice, beautiful model, and then you play a game and somebody kills it straight away. So how do you adjust to getting used to that? Sure.
I'll start with that.
Please. Really. I've never even heard of this. I can't wrap my mind around this.
Shiny model syndrome.
Shiny model syndrome.
That'd be like hearing about somebody who doesn't want to drive their car. The car's too nice.
Yeah, that does happen. Plastic on the seats.
There's that inevitable first ding. Okay, go.
Exactly. No, well, for me, I just pretend that it's all good fun. When you see that nicely painted army that you've spent ages getting destroyed, you kind of I just go with, well, that is the shiny model syndrome. Just get that first game out of the way. Because like with a new car, as soon as you've got the dink on the door, it's okay then. It's fine. It's just the first one. The first defeat always hurts the worst, I think.
I just go out with a hammer when I get a new car. And I'm just like, sorry, here it comes. Bam! Now I can drive easy.
Yeah, to be fair, when I got my first ever car to myself, I did crash it within the first 2 weeks. But I'd say after that it's okay because you've already done it.
What a horrible act of self-sabotage. I think we just learned something about Rachel.
Yeah, and then the week after, I think you drove through some bollards, and she didn't say anything about it. I just looked at the car on the drive.
You wouldn't notice the massive dent in the car.
The massive dent, and I'm like, where did that dent come from? And she's like, that's been there since I bought it. I was like, no, he definitely hasn't. And she tried to pass it off as if it had, but you definitely crashed into a few things, didn't you, Rachel? You were a danger on the road.
I never hit anyone else.
Anyone, you should say. In terms of not worrying about your models getting blown up, just don't tell your opponent what your shiniest model is. If you're really pleased and you want your model to survive more than a round, don't tell your opponent that it's your favorite model, because they will kill it, and just to see your face drop. We've got a few more people saying that
That's
not
called
British.
a moral victory.
Moral victory, yes.
Which is no victory at all, ever.
Surreal said, none of you are British. I don't see a single cup of tea, and that is because I've drank a big Sports Direct mug of tea before we came onto the show. And Rachel and Phil, I think you probably drank tea recently, right?
Yes, only moments ago.
Yeah, we're British. It's fine.
All great.
You guys don't have to defend your Britishness.
No, we're moving to America. We're going to move to America instead. Right, what else was there? There was more questions, and it's just people are still speaking, so it just skips them. Okay, from Turrican, I'd like to ask Sean how long he spends cleaning up a model before painting. I spend way too long on this, but for Sean, time is obviously, it impacts on profit. So how long do you spend on cleaning up a model?
I'm going to have to not answer this, but answer it in a different way. So we only have 2 levels for cleaning a model. So if something is being done to, very basic standard, then we clean it really good. And if it's being done to heroic standard, then it gets obviously the full attention because it might be viewed from any angle. But more importantly than that, you have to examine how you're cleaning the models, because this can go from a factor of 10 to a factor of 1 and still have a really good result. So here's how you do it. You take an X-Acto knife, you go at 90 degrees to the model, and you scrape that mold line off. And that can help you fill the gaps, smooth things out. And on your X-Acto knife, don't use the tip to clean, use the base of the blade. And that's going to and hold it really close. It's almost like, have you ever eaten an apple where you're just paring off pieces with a knife, right? And how efficient that is? Yeah. That's kind of the same thing if you're cleaning your models that way. And of course you can go, the boutique route and use tiny little files. And I think that's where people get tripped up, is they're using a tool meant for very delicate work, and they're trying to do the workhorse cleaning with it.
Yeah. I know in particular, Phil, when I'm cleaning all my models, I try and remove as many mold lines as possible. Phil's quite...
I'm sure you do, really. Sam.
Phil kind of...
You're not better than us, Sam.
You know what? I actually hate the fact that Phil gets an army painted in a day and it takes me 3 weeks. And it's purely because I have to keep checking things over and over again. And Phil just batches everything out. This morning, I think I woke up at 5 in the morning. Phil woke up at 7. And by 8 or 9 o'clock, he'd already airbrushed the base colors on the rest of Rachel's army. And I was just sitting there and I'd built the track on a Land Raider or something in the time that he'd spray painted all of this. I look to the right, I look to the left, I look to the right, and it's all painted again. And I'm just horrified by how quickly he gets stuff done, because he just gets on with it. And I spend too much time faffing around. So
I think you're the problem, Sam.
Yeah.
I should mention, we don't all live together. That's not how this works.
No.
You guys, Rachel and Sam stayed at my house last night because I'm going to say it, Sam. It's your birthday tomorrow, isn't it, Sam?
Yes.
So we had some food and a few drinks and played a few zombie games. So
yes.
Of course, Sam spent most of his time sorting out social media and thinking about how to clean up the tracks of a Land Raider that he'd thrown the instructions.
No, I was picking an 8th edition army for 40k. To be fair,
that's what you were doing. Yes, of course.
Yes. Was there any more questions? There's loads. People talking about Sports Direct mugs and tea and Jumanji. Jumanji has somehow come into this. We've got a hashtag, Team Sam Painting Style. I wonder if I'm going to get bullied from the chat as well now. Everyone's saying happy birthday.
Someone's asking your age, Sam. That Oric Love God's having a guess at 28. You couldn't possibly be that young, Sam.
What are you telling me, Ash? I'm like older than 28. I'm 29 tomorrow. So,
good guess from Oric.
Yes, good guess.
Well, technically, he's right, because actually you are still 28.
I'm 28 now, yes. I'm 29 in our time, 35 minutes.
Sean, I don't know about you, but I've got models older than Sam. That's what's worrying.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think I do. I've only been at it 20 years.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Phil. Time for you to catch the bus, Shove.
Oh, you've got people commenting saying you look 12 and happy 15th birthday, Sam.
Oh dear. Okay. Right. Do we have any more questions? Do you have any more questions, Phil or Rachel, before we wrap this one up?
No, there was a couple of comments. There was one from Jimmy Jim. Sean, Confrontation relaunches at summer. Game of Thrones from Simon is as a tabletop is coming. Give a comment.
Is that a question or is that just?
I think it's asking. It's probably
who's
a plug,
who's
asking
relaunching Confrontation?
Doesn't say, but Game of Thrones from Simon as a tabletop is coming as well. So it doesn't say who's relaunching.
Wow, cool mini bagged Game of Thrones rights. First off, I want to say that in 2007, we had several commissions from George R.R. Martin. And at the time, of course, I didn't know what that meant or what it would mean. But I did have some artists who were like, oh, George R.R. Martin is doing these miniatures. You know, will he sign things for us? And so I just emailed him and asked him, and he was really nice about it. He was really super good to us. And we painted some of the characters from his books, obviously. And I saw an article recently where he supposedly has this enormous miniatures collection. And I can only imagine, you know, there's the funds to do some pretty awesome stuff now. So anyway, I'm not really a fan of miniatures games that are based on other media. So, you know, have fun. I hope people are having a great amount of fun with that. But again, it goes with I prefer not to use named characters either in a game. I like to make up my own thing, which I think is the great appeal of 40K and fantasy. Is you know, you get to make your own pageantry. But as far as Confrontation, I remember when Confrontation first came out, it was a French company named Rackham. Anybody raise your hand if you remember that. And they really, the company stood on the strength of the models, but they went off on too many rails. They got derailed, and the company actually, I think, imploded a number of times and had different owners. They couldn't quite get it off the ground. They were doing Chinese pre-paints for a while, which, by the way, were pretty good quality for both the miniatures and the paint. And so I'd be interested to see a company do it. But the fact is, for boutique miniatures, it's now like, you know, 13 years later, and there's already a lot of companies already going strong in that area. So, you know, Confrontation is obviously an amazing intellectual property to pick up, but I think that's only going to put you on even footing with games like, I don't know, Infinity or Wrath of Kings by Cool Mini or not. That's one of their games. Dark Age, again, I think Cool Mini puts that one out. That just has basically boutique level painting with a decent miniatures range and also a really good company to back it up. And never mind Kickstarter being around. Kickstarter's pretty messed up. I mean, it's great. I absolutely love it, but it's changed the game so much that I think people are still adapting to it. You know?
Yes. It's so quick to get games started as well. We were talking to Mark Raps, and he runs WordForge Games, and he literally is round the corner from us. That's where we had to get most of our stuff from. But he's launched Devil's Run, Reaper's Revenge, the new game Star Knight, Solar Crusade, and he's getting these done in no time at all, in a few weeks, and they're getting pledged, they're getting funded from concept to completion. Some of them are like 6 weeks.
Yeah, wait until an airline goes on Kickstarter, and you start seeing traditionally monolithic organizations getting kickstarted, you know, in 6 months, where you pre-buy 10 plane tickets at half cost. you know, stuff like that. So it's, and in our little tiny niche industry, crowdfunding has definitely changed things. And generally the tendency to fragmentation, the low barrier to entry has really, in some ways, I think, prevented the industry from going forward in ways that it used to be able to go forward. A boiling sea of very small actors. Anyway, excuse me, I kind of went off on a tangent there.
It's,
like I just wanted to know what you thought of Game of Thrones, Sean. God, airlines.
That's the only way you can explain Game of Thrones. Trick in the airlines. We've got a lot of people saying, what have we got? That's still happy birthday stuff about bullying, saying maybe at the end of the next live stream it won't descend into bullying me, because that's generally what happens every single live stream that we do.
That's not going to happen, Sam.
No. Yeah, Kablams has said it wouldn't be a WGO stream without it ending on a mass Sam bullying. Sean hasn't been bad. Sean's been really polite and nice to me.
Shut up, Sam. I've had quite enough of you.
I kind of asked for that. I really did ask for that. What else have we got?
Well, you paused. I thought I was supposed to fill that with something.
No, you did. You did it great.
Something mean.
Tyler Miller saying, I also prefer not to play with named characters. It's fun to come up with our own stories. Sean Dewitt, this has been a really great chat. Well done, Sam, Phil, Rachel. He hasn't put Sean, but well done to Sean.
He has his revenge so quickly.
Thank you for sorting the sound issue earlier on. I think it was just Sean was trying not to have the reverb, and I think it was just a microphone. It's not an issue. It's absolutely fine. Red Cuffs, hi fellow geeks. Sorry I'm late in. Glad you're still going. At least I can catch the end of the show. Thank you for joining us, Red Cuffs. Go back to the beginning when this uploads and you can see the start of it. And then Mark Rapson's service was the only good experience I had on the Warzone Resurrection Kickstarter. Great guy. Yeah, okay, that's from Andre McInnes. And then more people. I like Mark, a really great guy. He really is.
Mark's getting some love. There is a suggestion to make the bullying an official segment of the chat that we can just schedule in towards the end. I think that's
I skipped that comment on purpose. Thank you for that.
And Sean has belatedly added Sean for the great chat as well. So your bullying comment, Sam, is now null and void.
And John Booth is also put, awesome as always. Great to hear from Sean.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. You guys really have been great. It's been a pleasure. I hope that you'll stay on afterwards because I have a few things to talk to you guys about.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we'll round up here. Big, massive thanks to Rachel for joining us on this chat.
Thank you.
For Phil for joining us, and he has trimmed his beard. Adrian, he has definitely trimmed
summer coat. I describe it as my summer coat. It's just so I can get through the hot, balmy days, the British summer that we all enjoy.
So he's looking very, I think he looks a lot younger, actually, with the beard. I don't know if I like it.
For those people who are concerned, it takes me approximately 4 to 5 days to grow it back to the previous length, so don't worry about it. I'm going back anytime.
Thank you to Sean for joining us. It's been absolutely brilliant. And we've all watched Sean for a very long time, all of his YouTube updates and Blue Table Painting in general. So it's kind of starstruck.
That was a shockwave just for you guys. Blow your mind.
And then, as always, thank you to every single person that has joined the live chat for jumping on and engaging, giving us your questions, giving us your answers. To everybody who has liked the video already, for everybody who has subscribed to the channel, and for everybody who has been over to wargameronline.com and made a free account or a premium account. It means absolutely everything to us. So we will see you all. I think the next live chat will be on Wednesday. It will be at our normal time of 8 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock BST. And in the meantime, I think we're going to have a few more videos on a daily basis. As always, it is my birthday tomorrow, so we'll see if there's a video going up. And we all know I don't sleep, so there probably will be a video. And we'll see you all on Wednesday. Say goodbye from all of us.
Bye.
And there we go. Credits go up.
Oh, credits.